Our hidden cameras caught employees with the LA Homeless Services Authority throwing cases of taxpayer-funded food right into the dumpster.
So they threw food away. Not expired luxury food, not leftovers from somebody's private event. We're talking about taxpayer-funded food. Food meant for homeless people in Los Angeles, stuff like sandwiches, apples, water, so on and so forth, thrown straight into the dumpster. And the reason this matters so much is very, very simple. When it's other people's money, nobody treats it like it matters. This is the problem with so many taxpayer-funded systems here in Los Angeles. The money doesn't come from them. No, the money comes from you. It comes from your paycheck, from your sales tax, from your gas tax, from your rent, from your property taxes, from your parking tickets, from your cost of living. And then that money gets filtered through agencies. It gets filtered through departments, nonprofits, contractors, outreach programs, consultants, administrators, and politically connected organizations. And by the time the money gets to the street, the people who were supposed to be helped are still outside. They're still hungry, starving, still sleeping on the sidewalks, still surrounded by trash, addiction, and chaos. But somehow, the system, the politicians, they still get paid. You know, there's a phrase that explains this perfectly. Other people's money. You see, when people spend their own money, they care. They check prices. They ask lots of questions. They watch the waste. They make sure they're getting value. But when people are spending your money, suddenly the discipline disappears. Suddenly they don't give a shh. Suddenly they overpay. They underperform. They waste resources. They throw away food. And then they come back next year and guess what they do? They ask for a bigger budget.
Handel chairs the Homeless Committee for the LA Neighborhood Councils.
This is an absolute disgrace. It's a theft of taxpayer dollars.
For months, we watched LASA employees picking up cases of food to give out to those less fortunate. These are outreach workers. They're supposed to spend their days interacting with the thousands of homeless in LA. The aim, according to LASA administrators, is for them to use the food as an opportunity to build trust in the hopes of convincing them to accept government services and housing and get them off your streets.
You see, that's the game. Failure does not punish the system. Failure funds the system. If homelessness gets worse, they don't get fired. If homelessness gets worse, they get a new grant. They get a new emergency declaration, a new task force, a new program, a new budget increase. So you have to ask yourself, what incentive do they really have to solve the problem? Huh? That food being thrown away is bigger than food. That dumpster is a symbol. It's a symbol that represents every dollar that leaves the working person's pocket and disappears into a system with no visible result. It represents the mother working 2 jobs while being told her taxes need to go up. It represents the small business owner getting squeezed by fees, permits, insurance, rent, and regulation. It represents the renter watching the city spend billions while the streets outside still look abandoned. And then they want you to believe the problem is that they don't have enough money. No. The problem is not always the amount of money. The problem is what happens after they get the money. Because when no one is held accountable, which they rarely are, waste becomes normal. When nobody gets audited, like Kenneth McKee keeps saying, corruption gets comfortable. When nobody gets fired, failure becomes a business model like Karen Bass. She's still in office, and perhaps she just might win again. And when the media doesn't press the issue hard enough, the public is trained to accept insanity as normal. And the public is accepting insanity as normal. They'll show you emotional speeches, yeah. They'll show you press conferences. They'll show you ribbon cuttings. They'll show you compassion language. But what they don't want you looking at is the back end. They don't want you looking at the contracts, the vendors, the salaries, the administrative costs, the food in the trash, the money trail, because the moment you start following the money, the whole story changes. This is not about attacking homeless people. No, let's be clear. The homeless are not the ones making money from the crisis. The taxpayer is not making money from the crisis. The neighborhoods are not benefiting from this crisis. The only people benefiting are the people positioned between the money and the problem. That's where the machine lives, between your tax dollars and the people they claim to be helping. And that's why Los Angeles keeps feeling like a city where billions can be spent, but nothing seems to be fixed. Because fixing the problem within the cash flow, not in the business of solving problems. They're in the business of managing problems forever and ever. Amen. So the next time they ask for more money, ask one simple question. What happened to the money you already got? Before you raise another tax, before you create another program, before you hire another consultant, before you give another speech about compassion, explain why taxpayer-funded food ended up in a dumpster. Because when they waste your money, they're not just wasting dollars, they're wasting trust. And once the people lose trust in the system, which they are right now, the system has a much bigger problem than a budget shortfall. I'm Wolf Kage, and this is Wolf Kage Los Angeles. We're not just looking at what they say. We are watching what they do.